Everybody's got a price.
Welcome to Season 2 of Sharp Bets and Fantasy Sets. I'm your host, Nick Fiorentino, and alongside me, as always, are my two co-hosts, Tim Secor. Tim, how we doing?
Doing good, brother. Fresh off a championship for our local fire department. Nicky walk off with the game-winning RBI. We'll call it a single. There's no errors in softball, believe it or not. It was what a fine evening it was last night. And first of all, the Jets are in first place, boys. How about it? I'm here for it. Let's go.
We'll get into the softball and obviously football in a second. But before we do that, we have to introduce our third man in the booth, and that is Chris Shaw. Chris, how we doing?
What's going on, fellas, man? Football, baby. We back. Let's go.
It does feel good to be back, and we took some time off for a couple of reasons. We had a lot going on. Our bread and butter tends to be football. It's what we do very, very well. Some of us will branch out into other sports betting or other fantasy outlets and might even hit some success. But at the end of the day, the show and the idea behind the show are to win not just ourselves money, but to educate you guys, the viewers, which we appreciate you guys tuning in each and every week to try to help you guys win money if you guys are big sports bettors, or just to try to give you a different edge or a different angle, something you might not be looking at. So because of the fact that we're pretty successful in football, in various outlets, whether it be sports betting in football, prop bets in football, in fantasy football, of course, we feel like it would be and would make the most sense to kick off season 2 with the NFL football season. So this is season 2 of Sharp Bets and Fantasy Sets. And of course, you can find us on Twitter at SBFS Show, on Twitch at the same. And we are part of the TruExact radio family, which you can find on YouTube. You can also find on Twitter and Instagram at TruExact. If you just search TruExact on YouTube, I'm sure you'll find our shows. Scott and the boys do some great shows. There are a lot of different shows going on, including Mark's Side of the Ring, which I'm a part of with Miguel and Fred. And we'll be kicking off some wrestling content very soon. I guess at the end of the day, we'll just call it a summer vacation. Does that work for everybody, a summer vacation? So softball is officially over, and it was nice to win a championship for the South Bound Brook Fire Department. And, we'll call it, I mean, in the book, it says single. But I think in professional sports, it would be deemed an error. But they say, with the game on the line, in certain sports, basketball, whatever the case may be, you want to put the ball in your best player's hands. And I'm not saying that I was the best player. I'm not. I'm saying in the reverse, what I wanted to do, my goal in that at-bat was to put the ball in the hands of the worst player on the other team and make them make a play. So I easily could have took that pitch because it was a ball and put more pressure on the pitcher. Bases loaded. 2 outs, bottom of the 7th inning, tie game. As Mookie Wilson said in Game 6 of the 1986 World Series, I didn't feel any pressure because I knew I couldn't lose the game. I can only win the game. So that's kind of was my mentality going in. But as a little kid, depending, it doesn't matter if you ever played a game with a ball and a bat. When you were in your backyard as a 7 or 8-year-old kid, it doesn't matter if it's professional baseball, if it's slow pitch softball, if it's a wiffle ball tournament, whatever it is, like you dream about bases loaded, bottom of the 7th inning, 2 outs, and a chance to be a hero. And I put the ball in the hands of their worst player, and he bobbled it and made an error. And, we won the game. The idea was to hit it over his head, but the idea 100% was to hit it in his general direction. And that's what we did, and we're champs for it. So I feel like
Champs are here.
that at least deserves the first shot of the show. I don't know. Are we doing
Yeah, fuck yeah. Let's go, boys. Cheers.
Hold on.
Oh, whoa.
Hold on. Wait. Where's your shot, Pippin?
I was parched after explaining the softball thing.
Well, while you're pouring, I want to thank everyone who's tuning in on Twitch right now. Like always, during the season, we're going to have the big time challenge, your 3-team parlay. We're trying to give away a lot of money this year. And for all of our live shows on Twitch, we're going to try to do it at 7:00 on Tuesdays for as long as that's feasibly possible. If for whatever reason the schedule has to change, we'll let you guys know via social media on all of our outlets. And for the foreseeable future, anytime you come into our Twitch channel, just come in, say hi, come with a drink, come with a shot, hang out with us.
We're here.
We're going to try to win you guys some money. Where I'm going to be doing the wheel of names basically every week. You come in, you say hi, your name gets added to the wheel. I'll spin it at the end of the show. Someone will hit, and they'll have a $25 free bet to use on DraftKings through my account. But you'll DM me. We'll set up whatever bet you want. You can bet somebody to win the World Series, somebody to win the Super Bowl, 25-team parlay. Whatever fancies your boat. It doesn't bother me. Doesn't bother us. We're going to try to win people money and have a good time this year. That's all.
I'll drink to that.
I'll drink to that too.
Cheers,
Salute,
boys. Let's do it. Oh, Crown Peach
Welcome
is so
back.
good.
Season 2. We in the building.
Ooh.
Let's go.
We are. So just to break down, and Tim kind of explained a little bit, I think the idea behind season 2, and I think what we're going to do with football, if you remember season 1, we always broke down our favorite DFS lineups. We broke down the primetime games, and we broke down our 3 best bets each, any best bet of the week, whatever the case may be. And I think that it put us in a position to bet games that I don't think we necessarily would bet. I think any professional bettor or anybody who sports bets, or even you guys tuning in at home and watching us, would all agree that in order to be successful in betting, you bet things that you have confidence in. And I think, and I'm not making excuses because at the end of the day, I won the prime time by betting against the Eagles, FYI. I think at the end of the day, we're going to tailor the show more towards what we plan on betting, what we would bet. So I think what might work and what we're going to start with, at least for when Thursday Night Football kicks off, is I think our show is going to be live on Twitch leading up to the NFL Thursday night game. And I think with that, you'll get a lot of content around prop bets that we like because prop bets only drop the day of the game. Some parlay prop bets, some things like that. And then I think we will also go into DFS lineups, some sit starts. We'll go through our 3-game parlay and we'll do all that. But I think what we will not do is we will not force ourselves to bet primetime football games. If you have a bet on the Thursday night game, give it. If you don't have a lean one way or another, don't. Give some prop bets. It gives us more flexibility. Of course, it'll require you to tune into Twitch Live to hear the prop bets, because when the show drops on Saturdays on the YouTube channel, or you could check at least the most recent show on the TruExact website, those prop bets are going to be expired because that game would have already been played. But you're still going to get a lot of great content on fantasy football. You're still going to get a lot of great content on parlay bets that we like going into the Sunday season. So without further ado, there's a lot of camp talk. There's a lot of preseason games going on. We don't necessarily do DFS preseason, but we do fantasy football. And I think that this show, at least today's, will be tailored entirely around fantasy football. And I thought what would be fun to do today, and my co-hosts agree, is that we will break down guys who are under or overvalued based on their current ADP. And what I mean by ADP is average draft position on Yahoo. So if you're using ESPN, what's wrong with you? If you're using CBS, stop watching. But if you're using Yahoo,
Wait, time out. Don't stop watching. Keep watching. Come on now, you can't tell viewers to go away. What's wrong with you?
people that use CBS for fantasy football just want attention, and we don't want to give it to them. So get the fuck out.
I'm in a league in CBS, so
Of course you are, and that guy probably wants attention, or girl. It's 2021. So we're going to do the average draft position based on Yahoo. So you're going to hear a lot of terms like leans or fades, fading a player, not interested in that player at their current average draft. And sometimes, unfortunately, you might have to take that person in that spot because of the way the draft is going. You won't know until you're in it. But, for me last year, Tim will attest, I did not think Josh Jacobs was going to be very valuable at his spot, which was, I believe, at this point, end of the first round, early second round. As a running back, I was pretty adamant about not taking him and spoke to anybody who would listen that I did not think he was a value pick at that spot, and he turned out to not be. But, we're men and we admit when we're wrong. I was also at the same point pretty against DeAndre Hopkins, given the fact that there was COVID. He was traded. Wide receivers that get traded to new teams often have a history of not doing so well. Now you factor in the fact that there weren't live practices and it was all through Zoom or whatever the hell they use. New chemistry, new system. It just had all the makings of him not having a very good year, and I was wrong about that for sure. So I'm going to kick it to Tim, but we're going to lay down. We'll go alternating, and we'll discuss the picks if we agree or disagree. But Tim, we'll start with. As a society, we're pretty negative. Let's start with the people that we would fade in this upcoming draft at their current ADP. So, Tim, who would be one of the biggest people you would fade at the current ADP?
Oh man, so I'll start with a banger. It is. People fucking texting me. Stop that. A lot of buffering. Whatever. It is Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook, I'm not taking him in the first round anywhere. Literally anywhere. Anyone who consistently stays injured is I just can't have them be my first pick in the first round. I know they say you can't win a fantasy league in the first round, but you can sure as hell lose one in the first round. Yeah, anyone with Saquon Barkley last year can attest to that. A lot of it's bad luck and just luck altogether. But when my man has never played a full season, I can't have him on my fantasy team. And I know he's going in the top 2 to 3 picks. Just could not be me. Not on my squad. You want me to rattle off all 3?
Just the one, because I definitely want to argue you on Dalvin Cook.
Oh, go ahead. Argue away, baby. Argue away.
Well,
listen, and all I'm going to say, when he does play, he is an absolute monster. He's a stud. But when you get hurt every year, the possibility of you getting hurt for the fantasy playoffs, like he did before, he gets you there, but forces you to take his handcuff automatically. That's one roster spot that you're losing for the whole season. I don't know.
I would not necessarily value a guy's injury history in professional football like I would in, say, maybe basketball or a less physical sport like baseball. It's football, so people are going to get hurt. And Dalvin Cook, I believe, through college did not have a lot of injuries. I could be wrong, but I don't think his college career was riddled with injuries. So I think he had kind of a freak injury in his first year, getting hurt early and missing the entire season. But you're looking at a guy on a team that's returning almost all of their offensive line. You're looking at a guy on a team that should be very good, or at least decent. They probably would have been a lot better if Aaron Rodgers wasn't in it, from a win total standpoint, but it looks like he's back with the Packers. But I do think they're going to be very good. They should be better on defense. And you're looking at a guy who over the last 2 seasons has scored 30 touchdowns and averaged last year. I don't think he missed too many games. He might have missed 1 or 2 last year, but I don't think he missed many. But he averaged 22 points a game in games played. And when you're drafting a first-round running back, to me, you don't want a guy like Nick Chubb, who would be on my list for overvalued guys, who for Nick Chubb, 100 yards, a touchdown, maybe a couple catches would net him 18 points. But when you're drafting a first-round running back, you want a guy that's going to smash 20 or more points every single week. And Dalvin Cook has the ability to do that. Christian McCaffrey has the ability to do that. Those would be two at the top of the list. So I think, for me, Dalvin Cook, I think, is accurately rated. Obviously, me and Tim starting out season 2 on a disagreement. Sir, you heard both arguments. Tim's is just injuries, which is stupid. But
I mean,
arguments. What's your take as the third person? Would you take?
no, I mean, like,
second
I'm with you on
overall pick
injuries,
or no?
but a lot of running backs in the first round have an injury. Like with Zeke a little bit, McCaffrey had an injury. Saquon is in a first round pick, and he's coming off an injury. So, like, there's a lot of running backs out there that have an injury bug, so to say. But I said when Dalvin's on the field, he puts up numbers. Like, I like Dalvin, you know what I'm saying? But he was talking about he doesn't want to handcuff. Like, I feel like you should always handcuff your star running back. Always. Because, like, somebody might have a freak injury, and now you're guaranteed to have that team's running back on your squad. So I like handcuffing running backs.
I understand the principle and the idea behind handcuffing running backs. I've leaned against that as of late due to the fact that a lot of the leagues I'm in have a small bench, and I don't want to waste a bench on an insurance policy. I have confidence in myself in working the wire throughout the entire season. I'm the guy in every league that has the most ad drops. So that's me. So, you can limit that by limiting the ad drops, but I can understand the principle and the basis behind carrying the insurance policy on your first round pick, especially if it's a running back. But yeah, I don't. So, sir, just yes or no. You have the second pick in the draft. Are you taking Dalvin Cook? Assuming the first person takes Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, that's Tim's first. I mean, that's fine. That's Dalvin Cook for me. I'm going to go Alvin Kamara. I know I mentioned Nick Chubb. I don't necessarily know if Nick Chubb is valued at the number 5 overall spot, not when people like Aaron Jones are behind him, but I look at Alvin Kamara as I pull up his spot. It looks like he is, sorry, I'm back on last season because I wanted to prove a point on Dalvin Cook. But you look at Alvin Kamara is 5th. And I know what everybody's going to say. Alvin Kamara, the main focal point of the Saints offense, especially with, Mike Thomas in limbo and nobody really knows what's going on. But I look at it as a lot of Alvin Kamara's bread and butter in fantasy football is pass catching and goal line scores. So you look at Alvin Kamara and you say Drew Brees was the highest rated quarterback to throw passes to a running back. I think it was him and Phillip Rivers. I forget who was 1 or 2, but Drew Brees threw a lot to the running back. Now you replace him with Jameis Winston, who has a history of not doing that. And if you think it's just based on his Tampa Bay run, then you go back to the fact that it was Taysom Hill who started over him last year during the times that Drew Brees missed. And Alvin Kamara was virtually horrible. I mean, the only reason he got any points at all in one of the games was because he picked up a lot of pass catches in garbage time loss to the Eagles. He was not good. And then you look at the fact that they used Taysom Hill a lot at the goal line. And I feel, in my own opinion, that Taysom Hill's going to play a lot. I don't think it's going to be so much Jameis Winston. I think it's going to be a lot of Taysom Hill. And you look at an offense that I think is actually going to be not very good at all. I mean, they might squeak some wins out because their defense is very good, but I don't think the Saints offense is going to be very good at all. I don't know what anybody would look at on their team and say, well, this is a great offensive team. I think looking at like last year's Patriots, they won a lot of games because of their defense, but their offense wasn't that great. I could see it being kind of similar to that scope, but I would not look at Alvin Kamara. He's going at an average draft position of 5. I'd rather have Aaron Jones, who, doesn't have Jamal Williams, is going to be there to catch more passes because I don't think they're going to use A.J. Dillon to catch passes. I think he's going to get more work with Aaron Rodgers, who's the reigning MVP. I would much rather take Aaron Jones 5th. Even Derrick Henry to an extent, who I know is not a pass catcher. But kind of what you're going to get with Derrick Henry, the big dog. I would stay away from Alvin Kamara if it were me. I would not draft him. And this is coming from a guy who drafts him Basically, in any league where he is available at the time where I draft, I have taken Alvin Kamara. There was never a time where I didn't. So I'm a huge Alvin Kamara fan. Some of you might disagree. If you do, we love the feedback. I mean, definitely argue. But to me, there's black and white tangible evidence that Alvin Kamara may not be such a great pick this year in fantasy football. And you might come back and say that he's the only guy on their offense. They got to tailor the offense around them if they're going to win games. But then you're tailoring the offense around, what if you're behind 14 points? How are you doing that? So I don't know. I don't necessarily think he's going to be great at the 5th pick. I would fade him. Agree, disagree?
Yeah, I agree. Although I'll say last year, if you had Kamara in the playoffs, like the fantasy playoffs, you probably won your league, especially when you got the 50 bomb on in some leagues. But no, I'd agree. I might avoid the whole Saints offense. Like the whole Saints team, I might just put them on my list of.
That's probably the best thing that can be said. I would fade the entire Saints offense. I don't think there's a couple teams that I would draft on their team.
There's a couple teams in this league that I'm avoiding everybody. The Saints are probably on that list.
I agree 100%. Sir, you're number one on a fade.
All right. So my number one is not a running back. It's a wide receiver. Calvin Ridley, I'm looking at you, brother. Why? Like Calvin Ridley he's the number 4 wide receiver? Nah, bro. Like, listen, he put up numbers last year, but he had a guy by the name of Julio Jones with him. Like Julio's not in Atlanta anymore. So you're telling me you would take Calvin Ridley over? He's ahead of DeAndre Hopkins, Justin Jefferson, and DK Metcalf. You're telling me you would take over all those 3? Nah, fam. Too high.
I mean, they replaced Julio Jones with Kyle Pitts, right? Tight end.
Yeah, rookie tight end. Yeah,
I know it's not exactly the same, but he's a pass catching option better than what they had last year.
But if you're taking Ridley, you're gonna have to take him as your number 1 receiver and probably very high in the draft. No, thank you. I'll pass.
What if I told you that you can get a wide receiver? So where's Calvin Ridley being drafted?
Oh, well, no, I didn't get the round. I said he's a wide receiver 4. He was the 4th receiver off the board.
So let's say I think he's early 2nd round. So so I'm going to tell you, hey, sir, so forget about your 1st round pick. Let's just talk about your second. Your 2nd round draft pick is going to be a wide receiver. You need a wide receiver. You drafted a running back in the 1st round. Mm-hmm. You took a wide receiver. This wide receiver gets 11 targets a game. Would you be excited about the prospect of this wide receiver getting 11 targets a game?
If you said, like, as I said, I would rather.
The only reason I ask is because Calvin Ridley. I hate that I disagree with you guys so much. You could
be wrong. It's okay.
Calvin Ridley averaged 11 targets a game when Julio Jones was gone. Now you take away Julio Jones' targets. That's a lot of targets. Who are these targets going to?
All right, but as I said, Nick, it's been proven that when there's wide receiver 2 becomes wide receiver 1, now everybody has to focus on them, and usually it does not end well for said receiver.
Looking at you, Juju Smith-Schuster.
No, I get.
You know what I'm saying? I see you, Juju, doing your dance. Come on.
I understand the idea behind the number 1 cornerback now shadowing the number 1 player, but if you look at Calvin Ridley's production when Julio Jones was not there, that would go against what you're saying because he balled out in the games that Julio Jones was not there. I know they both missed time at the same time at some points where, maybe you wanted to have Austin Hooper or Russell Gage or, somebody because the pass has got to go to somewhere. And I'll even play devil's advocate and I'll agree with you. Matt Ryan, at some point, the wheels are going to fall off and he's not going to be good anymore. He's getting older. They don't have a running game. Hell, Atlanta hasn't had a running game in years. So I kind of get what you're saying, but at the same time, I think if I take a stud running back in the 1st round, like Dalvin Cook, and I follow that up with Calvin Ridley after...
Are you taking Calvin Ridley over Hopkins?
I wouldn't argue with anybody that did. I wouldn't sit there and say that's a dumb pick. I'll say that. I wouldn't say, what the fuck are they doing? I wouldn't say that. But
man, your hatred for Hopkins is deep. Oh boy. Man, what did he do to you? Did Hopkins like spit in your face or something? Did he like kick your dog? Run over your cat?
We don't promote animal cruelty
Yeah, we don't
on this
promote animal
website,
violence.
sir. Come on.
It's a figure of speech. You know what I'm saying?
Calvin Ridley last year with Julio Jones, 95 catches, 1,400 yards, 10 touchdowns.
With Julio Jones. Sir, I don't
But
know. Julio Jones is pretty good.
He is.
Pretty good.
But he produced without Julio Jones. That's my main argument. And I think he's in the same bucket with guys like Stephon Diggs, DeAndre Hopkins, Devontae Adams, obviously. I think Tyreek Hill's the number one. But I put him in line with those guys.
Well,
Are you taking Ridley or Justin Jefferson?
I'm taking Ridley, 100%.
I'll put it to you this way. I don't think Atlanta's defense improved at all. So
No, if anything, they got worse.
They're going to be playing from behind, and just the sheer fact of chucking the ball up in a losing game is going to get him points. Yeah, whether he outproduces the guys that are going to be drafted around him, I could see both sides of the argument as well. But if you're in a position to get him, he's going in the middle of the second round or in the middle of the third round. I drafted to rounds 2.5. So sometimes in the second, sometimes in the third. I would have him on my team, but I could see the argument against it.
Tim?
Not on my team. Y'all can have him.
All right, I'll take him right to the bag. Tim,
Go ahead. Enjoy.
Tim, who's your next fade?
Your league leader from 2020 in receiving yards, Mr. Stephon Diggs. Looking at you, pal. 11th ranking overall. Knee injury in training. This is why you don't fucking draft. Your fantasy football draft should not be early. It needs to be week 4 of the preseason or later if you can afford it. That with saying, he's got a knee injury.
But I'm not gonna make this show all about my disagreements with everybody. So just go ahead.
he's got a knee injury. Josh Allen just got paid. He just got paid, and now he's got to live up to that contract. I don't know. I don't necessarily. I don't trust it yet. He had one great year. Let's see what he does this year, type of deal. And just because I know Nick's big on stats, there's no wide receiver since Calvin Johnson back in 2011, 2012 that led the league in receiving back-to-back years. So where you're drafting him, I don't know if he's going to live up to expectations. My personal opinion, I would fade him in where he's getting drafted. Now, Nick, shit away.
I mean, the things that you're saying are accurate. I mean, there's not much that can be said about, the fact that nobody since Calvin Johnson. I mean, if that's a fact, that's a fact. But I don't necessarily know if you need the league leading receiver with your second round pick. I think you could just have a very good wide receiver as your second round pick, and you will be okay. Case in point, Calvin Ridley. If I told you that your second round pick caught 95 catches, 1,400 yards, and 10 touchdowns, I think you would sign up from that for your number 2 wide receiver, or from your second round wide receiver that you drafted.
But he's going in the first round. That's what I'm saying.
So are you telling me you taking Calvin Ridley over Stephon Diggs?
I would probably, gun to my head, take Stephon Diggs over Calvin Ridley. However, my point isn't comparing the two. My point is just saying, like, to me, Stephon Diggs is a second round pick. Is he going in? Is he ranked in the first round of the draft?
No, 11. According to Yahoo, which you made
late first, early second.
There's just the problem this year, and I hate to say it because I'm a guy, if you've ever been in a league with me, you probably know that historically just pounds running back. There's so many question marks in the first 2 rounds of running backs that there's just no way I'm taking 2 running backs unless, like, I can get a guy like Austin Eckler in the second round or something like that. Like, I just can't see doing it. There's so many wide receivers, and I think there's such a competitive edge to having this year versus other years of having, like, 3 elite wide receivers and a great running back. Like if you have Christian McCaffrey and like your number 3 wide receiver is like Jerry Jeudy or somebody, like who cares who your second running back is? Like you could take Mike Davis, who has no competition in Atlanta, or you could take, if you're in a league with stupid people, you could take Darrell Henderson, or you could take, somebody later. I don't think Darrell Henderson would be there, but you could take people later. But I just think to me, it just makes more sense to get a beast running back and a beast wide receiver. And there's like a pot of wide receivers outside of Tyreek Hill, who in my opinion is far and away the best wide receiver this year will be Tyreek Hill. I think you could put the rest of them in a pot, like the Devontae Adams and the Stephon Diggs and the Calvin Ridleys. I would put like those guys in that next tier behind them. DeAndre Hopkins as well. And my only argument on drafting early versus drafting late is if you study and you know a lot and you watch camp and you do all of these different things, I think you will know a lot of the things that your counterparts will not know and rely on preseason and rely on what Yahoo tells them and relies on what ESPN tells them, where if you're smart, you can get a competitive edge on just about anybody. There are guys who on Yahoo right now, So I'll throw this as an example. We're bouncing around, so we'll just let it go and we'll just let it ride. Like one of the guys that I would take at their current ADP is Trey Lance at 133. Like Trey Lance is 133 because there are people that think that Jimmy G is going to start. I would roll the dice and say he's not. And after the first preseason game, I think it showed that he is not going to start over Trey Lance because Trey Lance is a better quarterback. And I think that the fact that they drafted him where they drafted him and play him where they play him, I think the 49ers are going to be a very good team. I think they have a very good offensive core. And I think that Trey Lance, if he plays an entire year, can rival what Cam Newton did in his rookie year because he could do it with his legs and he could do it with his arm. But you have people, maybe some are watching the show, maybe some, but I guarantee you there are these people in your leagues who are going to look at it and be like, well, he's not the starter. Just says Jimmy G is a starter. And so they're not going to take him. And you're going to be able to get him late in a round. And if you look at fantasy football and where people usually win, there's exceptions to every rule. But I guarantee you that there are people that are listening right now who the person that won their fantasy football leagues last year took Aaron Rodgers as quarterback or took Josh Allen as quarterback. And both were taken after round 8. The guys that took Patrick Mahomes or took, any of the other top quarterbacks in round 3 and 4 and then settled for a terrible running back or a terrible wide receiver did not win, even though they're the best quarterbacks in the league. So I would take the gamble and say that I know more than the people I'm playing with because I do a lot of research. So I would rather the draft be early. Injuries are going to happen in football. It's football. There's nothing you can do about it. There's always going to be injuries. You will draft somebody on your fantasy team that is going to get hurt this year. Just hope it's not one of the first rounds. And hope that you're smarter than your competition and you can rebound. And more often than not, you're going to be smarter, especially if you watch this show. That's my rant.
I mean, you're not wrong. Injuries do happen. Trust me, as a Niner fan, I saw it a lot last year where people get hurt. You know what I'm saying? It happens. But with the whole Trey Lance thing, I think he's going to be good, but I think Jimmy G's starting the season. Because it's just like Mahomes. When they drafted Mahomes, they sat him all year, played Alex Smith, then all of a sudden, the following year, they gave the keys to Patrick Mahomes, and, well, the rest is history. So I think they're going to sit Lance for as long as Jimmy G allows it to, because if he stays upright and stays healthy, he'll play. If he gets hurt, then they got to force his hand.
Who is your head coach?
I know, Mr. Shanahan, sir.
Has he ever said something and actually did it?
If you listen carefully, yes. You know what I'm saying? If you listen very carefully, he does tell you some honesty.
If you read between the lines,
you know what I'm saying? He be feeding a lot of nonsense, but I mean, most of it's factual. Like when he says, "Hey, we're not guaranteed to be here Sunday," he wasn't lying. Anything could happen.
Tim, any comments on Twitch?
yeah, actually, Lippy had a question. Yeah, I got to read it again because it was. I'm in one keeper league. I have the 8th pick in a half-point PPR. My choices for keepers are CMC in the 1st or a value keeper of James Robinson in the 9th. And I'm going to tell them right now that CMC is who you're going to go with.
CMC with the 8th pick, take that and run.
I got very scared for a second you were going to go value, but I agree 100%. You take CMC and you take him for a bunch of different reasons. First, he's the best player from a fantasy standpoint in the league, bar none. The other thing you need to look at is even though he was hurt last year, the games that he played, I think every game he played, he had over 25 fantasy points. I won't go so far on a limb to say he had over 30 fantasy points, but I'm like 90% sure he had over 30 fantasy points in every game he played last year. Like the guy is a difference-making running back. So you take him. 100% you take him.
Absolutely.
Couldn't agree.
Take CMC and build your team around it and go win a championship.
And hey, for anyone who's an added extra, Mr. TruExact himself, Scott, just popped in a chat and said that in addition to winning the $25 free bet, whoever wins the wheel will get a Sharp Bets and Fantasy Sets T-shirt to go along with it.
Oh,
no, I might roll it twice to have 2 winners because we had a lot of people tune in on our return show, and it's greatly appreciated. So come back every week, and
we'll keep giving you winners
stuff away, man. Let's go.
Any more questions so far, or was Lippy the only one?
No more questions.
Guys, if people are tuning in and people are watching and you guys have questions, definitely fire them in. I feel like we had an agenda and we had a list, a show run of what we were going to cover, and I feel like it's kind of, maybe it's my fault, but it's kind of already derailed into just kind of bullshitting about guys we would take and not take. But I think the value and the content is there. So if you have questions, definitely drop them in and we'll try to help you with your fantasy drafts the best we can. Let's forget about just going round robin in like risers or fallers. Just throw out a name of somebody you have on your list and we could just talk about it. I'll go first on this, and I don't know if this is a name that a lot of people, but like one guy who I think pretty highly of this year is Javonte Williams, and obviously Melvin Gordon just got hurt. But I look at the Broncos team that I think is going to be pretty good on offense, and right now he's currently going at 71, and I think I would probably do whatever I can do to try to get him at the end of the 5th, early 6th round. They traded up for him to get him. So I think the plan was for him to be the man eventually anyway. But now you factor in the fact that Melvin Gordon is hurt and really wasn't that great last year. And I just think Javonte Williams, if you look at a guy, if your draft strategy is to go like running back, beast running back, if you're early in a draft and you go beast running back, and then you want to couple it with maybe a tight end, one of the elite tight ends to give yourself an advantage there, and 2 wide receivers. Like this is an excellent guy to target for your second running back in either late 5th, early 6th round. And I think you would set yourself up for huge success. If you look at your team and you have Christian McCaffrey or Dalvin Cook, and then you're coupling him with Javonte Williams. Sorry, I'm all over the place with my papers. You have 2 elite wide receivers and you walk away with a guy like Darren Waller or George Kittle. I think you have the makings of a team that's going to be very, very good. So I don't know if you guys.
Speaking of the Denver offense, like I'm a fan of like the receiving core and like the Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy's of the world.
Jerry Jeudy, huge. Yeah, I agree.
Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy, like they're gonna do some things as long as they get that quarterback situation solved. Like I'm a fan of both those two. Like especially, Jerry Jeudy's a young boy, but Cortland Sutton I think will put up some numbers this year too.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Tim, what do you think? Do you have any? I know you're a huge. I know you drafted quite a few Broncos last year.
I was big on Jerry Jeudy last year.
Yeah,
so
he's so good.
That would have to be my go-to if we're talking straight Denver. I just had one. I had one other wide receiver conundrum for my overvalued, and that's probably any Pittsburgh Steeler wide receiver. Like I don't know who the number 1 is. They don't either. They don't know who the number 2 is. Like one game, Claypool put up 3 touchdowns. Next game, Deontay Johnson. Next game, Juju. It's not like the one-headed monster or two-headed monster. There's so many mouths to feed. Pittsburgh's going back to smash mouth with fucking
Najee Harris.
Najee Harris as a running back. I think they're going to change up the way their whole offense runs from a year ago. So I'm, staying away from Big Ben too. I just don't.
Speaking of Pittsburgh, that was another team that I was overvalued, but I don't know if I would take him in the first round. Is Najee Harris, because he's been going early. I think I won't say late first, early second in most drafts. I don't know if I necessarily. I mean, he could turn out to be a monster, but it's a bit high it's a bit of a reach in my opinion.
So you're staying away from him, and
I don't know about staying away.
Everything I'm hearing is making me want to draft him. Maybe not in the first round.
That's what I'm saying. No, I would say don't draft him, but in the early first, late second. I mean, I don't know. I mean, early second. Maybe if you get him in the late second, maybe early third, but I doubt it. I doubt he's going to last that long.
There were people last year that were burned by taking Clyde Edwards-Helaire early.
Exactly. Yeah, he's another one.
So I can understand that argument, and I certainly would not take him that early. But I think if you have a middle round pick this year and you walk away with a first round pick of Tyreek Hill, let's say, who I've mentioned multiple times on the show, and you follow up and you want to get that running back, if he's the best available, I would be okay with that. I like the news out of camp that they're using him like they used Le'Veon Bell, which opens up a lot of opportunities.
And the one thing about the Steelers is they feed the running backs. Last year, they gave James Conner a lot of carries. I mean, he didn't do much with it, but they gave him. They fed him.
Boy, I have that guy in too many leagues.
You know what I'm saying? So they don't usually do a committee. They usually pick one back and feed him. But I don't know. Maybe I'm saying where he's going, I'm not sure yet.
I do agree. To fade, I can't think of a single wide receiver from the Steelers that would make me feel happy drafting.
Especially where they're getting drafted too, because they're all getting drafted in the same fucking bunch. It's not like you're just picking out of a hat and hoping that your guy hits at that point, and it's just a little too early for my taste.
Yeah, I think I would fade all of them.
So that's everything I have for overvalued.
All right, I got one more overvalued. It's a quarterback. Why is Dak Prescott the fourth quarterback off the board?
Is he the
brother? I mean, granted, last year he was in the Raiders. I saw he was QB4.
Ugh.
Right. Whereas, he's coming off a major injury. He's not 100% right now, and he's the fourth.
He is the fourth.
He's a QB4. Why? Saying. Why is he come up last year in the early part of the season? Yes, he was putting up tremendous numbers. But and I'm saying I don't know. I would not take him as a fourth quarterback.
I need to see him in actual game action before. Give me preseason week 3. Let me see how he looks before you can ever take him that early.
Listen, that early one. I mean, he's already talking about his shoulder. One clean shot, and who knows? He might miss a couple games from that.
I don't know if I would necessarily. I don't think it bothers me so much that he's the fourth quarterback. I think what bothers me more, I would not draft him as. Yeah, there's not a single quarterback that I would take at their current ADP until I get down to. Well, I'm not going to say because I'm in leagues with you, but. No, I'm just kidding. But to me, I'm never taking a quarterback early because there's so much value late. You build a team with pass catchers and running backs, and you have all the skill position players that you need. You even have started to get some bench guys who are high upside to solidify your team. You mean to tell me that you would be upset with taking Matt Stafford in the 10th round? Or in the 9th round?
After the rest of your starting fantasy team is filled, you're telling me you can still get Matt Stafford as your quarterback?
Right.
It's ridiculous. And that literally the first line of overvalued is any quarterback on the board because you stole every part of the thunder. I was if you drafted Josh Allen or Aaron Rodgers last year, you were in the playoffs and had a very good chance of winning the league.
Yeah. It's just, to me, it doesn't make much sense to, Yeah, it doesn't make much sense to take a quarterback early.
But I saw that. I'm looking at him like, why is he number 4? Like that just, I don't know. I wouldn't touch him.
Yeah, let somebody else take Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
those
exactly.
guys.
Like I said, if you're drafted, just keep drafting wide receivers and running backs. You know what I'm saying? If you want to sprinkle a tight end in there, but wide receiver, running back, wide receiver, just keep depth.
Think about last year, the fucking heart attack people had when Patrick Mahomes hurt his knee in like game 3 or 4. You're taking a quarterback that early, and that's all it took. It's just when everyone else waited till rounds 8 and 9, just unbelievable.
Like I don't know where he was drafted last year, but if you took like Ryan Tannehill last year, you were putting up some solid numbers.
So that's the point I wanted to make. Just count for me while I read off the names. These are the top 20 fantasy players last year. Tim, every time I mention one that's a quarterback, just tally
Take
off.
a shot? Okay, got you.
Yeah, you would die. So best player in fantasy last year, Josh Allen. Then Kyler Murray. Then Aaron Rodgers. Then Patrick Mahomes. Then Alvin Kamara. Then Deshaun Watson. Then Russell Wilson. Then Devontae Adams. Then Ryan Tannehill. Then Tom Brady. Then Justin Herbert. Then Lamar Jackson. Then Dalvin Cook at 13. So the top 13 players in fantasy last year, 10 of them were quarterbacks. Then you go Derrick Henry. Then you go Tyreek Hill. Then you go Stephon Diggs. Then you go Kirk Cousins. When was he drafted last year? He was the 17th overall fantasy.
Probably not drafted.
Travis Kelce. Then DeAndre Hopkins. Those are your top. So you're talking about half of the top 20 players, 10 or 11, were all quarterbacks. So that's just my point. Like,
To that point, what was the difference between the first and like the 10th quarterback? What was the point differential?
100 points. I looked it up.
Oh, it's 100? I'm saying because it's fairly close. Whereas if you take the best running back and the 10th best running back, there's a larger gap between the two. That's why it's always key to get those top running backs, top receivers, and draft a quarterback later on, because the difference between the number 1 QB and the number 10, it's not that bad. I mean,
I can't stress it enough. That to me is year over year. Like until first of all, you're in a league, you're in a 12-team league. Let's just assume everybody's in either a 10 to 12-team league. There are 14 startable fantasy quarterbacks. 14 in a 12-team league. So you are going to get a quarterback that is startable.
Maybe more depending on the matchup.
I just off the top of my head, I'm sure there are more.
And you're not even factoring in the rookies who might be very good this season.
Exactly, like Trey Lance.
Trevor Lawrence might do some work.
Even Jalen Hurts, and I don't want to play the homer card, but like the games that Jalen Hurts started, he was the best quarterback in fantasy football in the games that he started. I mean, so
I think we just found out Nick's undervalued pick.
I don't know if I would necessarily. I don't think the Eagles are going to be very good. So I don't know. I mean, he's probably going to have a lot of opportunities, and he can run. If he's my backup quarterback, like I would definitely take him as a backup quarterback, because I think that the good, is very good. Like I think there's a high ceiling, but I would be uncomfortable if I was going into week 1 with him as my starting.
All of chat is shitting on you right now for your Homer J. Simpson impersonation here.
What did I do?
You just said Jalen Hurts, so you're a homer.
Oh, Homer. I was thinking Homer Simpson.
Homer J. Simpson. That's it. That's what you are.
The numbers don't lie. He was the best quarterback in fantasy football in the games that he played. So I don't know what to tell you.
I think it's time we're going to switch from overvalued to undervalued. It's round 2.
Let's bring some positivity to the world. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I feel like I've already talked about my undervalued.
That's fine. I haven't said one word about mine yet.
Neither of us.
Cheers.
Well, wait. We got to wait for the host.
Come on. Why are you always the last one?
We are all hosts.
And another reason why you shouldn't take James Robinson is they literally just drafted a running back in the first round.
Travis Etienne.
Yeah. God bless you, sir. Whatever you just said. And that's why you don't take him. Which, yeah, I mean, I think it's no knowledge that he's like everybody's sleeper candidate this year, just for the main fact that if an undrafted James Robinson could do it, a dude that they drafted in the first round, instead of just letting James Robinson run with what he did last year is, God damn, that's a good shot. Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready, boys. We're back. Let's do it. Can I be a homer, Nick, too? Because the Jets have to start somebody at running back. And if the Niners system comes over, I like to run the ball, sir. We shake your head? No.
No.
Yes, sir.
No. I'm thinking ahead, old boy. Don't worry about me.
Give me Michael Carter getting drafted at 111, 9th round, starting running back potentially.
All right,
maybe Tevin Coleman. And Tevin Coleman's going later than Michael Carter. At that point, you draft 2 people and hope one sticks.
My only argument to that thing is, sir, not for nothing. Your boys might be down, and when you're down, you ain't running the ball.
Hey, pass catching running back. I don't know.
Which that statement leads me to one of my undervalued players, but
take it away.
Very undervalued. Just to be down, they're going to throw the ball. Very undervalued. Corey Davis. I believe he is the wide receiver 46. He is a number 1 receiver in that system, and him and Mr. Wilson have had a nice little rapport in their first preseason game. So, if you can get him as a wide receiver 3-ish, I'm saying, and he might win. Win you some games later in that season.
Sir, do it for me one time. Jets, Jets. Come on, one time for the one time, sir.
Not yet, old boy. Not yet. Nah.
Come on.
Can't do it wearing the red, old boy. It's like, you know what I mean?
Last year, I was Eagles flying. I was doing the whole thing. Y'all fucking haters, man.
Hey, Nick, why don't you hit him with a little JETS?
No, fuck Nick. He's busy.
Jalen Hurts played 4 games last year, and he averaged. I'm just saying, 113 fantasy points in 4 or 5 games. From a quarterback that nobody drafted last year. I'm just saying.
You guys are. See, you're just.
All right,
you're just
Nick, I got a question for you, sir. Jalen Hurts is a wide receiver, is a running quarterback number 9, correct?
Is he?
I believe he's quarterback number 9. Would you take him over quarterback 10?
Who's quarterback 10?
Aaron Rodgers.
No, oh my.
That was another one of apparently Aaron Rodgers is QB 10. Like, I believe he won the MVP last year.
Hold on. Wait, why is my shit all fucked up? Hold on.
I don't know. All I know is the one Yahoo rank I looked at, he was QB 10. I'm like, that's a little silly, sir.
Is it bad that
he's 81 and Aaron Rodgers is 82?
Yes, exactly. So you're telling me you would take Jalen Hurts over Aaron Rodgers?
No.
Just saying, old boy.
Is it bad that my other 2 undervalued guys are people from your guys' team? Like I gotta fluff you guys up a little more. You guys won't even
we'll argue them. You say them.
You won't even fucking do the Jets chant, but here I go, fucking fly Eagles flying. I don't even know if the Niners have a chant. It's whatever it is. Sir, Deebo Samuel, my man, 86th overall. Upside is there. Trey Lance is going to be your quarterback, whether you want to believe it or not.
I didn't say he wouldn't be the quarterback. I'm just saying Jimmy's going to start. I mean, Jimmy will throw to Deebo.
If Deebo could stay healthy, because he got hurt last year, if he could stay healthy,
everybody else,
they find ways to put the ball in his hands.
Yeah,
reverses, screens.
Sorry, you mentioned before the best play caller in the game is Kyle Shanahan.
Just saying. I would take him. And Nick, for the love of God, a late tight end. I guess he's not too late. He's getting drafted at 76 and can possibly put up numbers. Dallas Goedert, your boy.
Zach Ertz is still there, though.
Yeah, but is he? I don't know. Let's see before the draft happens. If Dallas Goedert is the number 1, he could put up. I don't know that he could put the top guy numbers up, but he will be tier 2 easily. Eagles are going to stink. Going to play from behind. going to get targets out the ass if he's the only tight end.
Yeah, but I would rather take, and Sir will back me up on this 100% without even having to hear him say it. I would rather take Logan Thomas 30 spots later than take Dallas Goedert in the spot that
Is that where he's going in the 90 or in the
Well, where's Dallas Goedert going?
76?
Yeah, Logan Thomas is going like later than like the 100th pick.
Oh man. Well, yeah, that's solid. You guys fucking don't spoil everyone's DFSs already.
Somebody asked the honest opinion on Saquon Barkley. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, it's Rob.
My honest opinion,
if healthy, monster. But is he healthy?
That's why they play preseason.
I would be very nervous if I took him in the first or second round.
Yeah, so a lot of honestly, as you mentioned, like you can't necessarily win a league in the first round, but you can lose it. And risking a lot of first round draft capital to take Saquon in the first, it's a big risk. I mean, he could win you a league.
But that's the thing. Like his ceiling is he could be the best running back in football. That's his ceiling.
The number one player.
Then you pretty much saying. I mean, I know everybody gets hurt, but it's a risk.
Yeah, it is a risk. I know I would fade him. I would not take him. I would let him be somebody else's problem. But at the same time, if you're a risk taker, and sometimes you need to be to win your league, his upside is that he could be the best player in fantasy this year. So,
does anyone know where he's going right now? What pick? Or should I look it up?
I believe he was. I think he's an RB7, RB8. I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I think he's like RB7.
Yeah, he's going eighth or ninth overall.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could take him there. If he makes it down to the 12-13 swing, it would be very hard for me to pass on.
If you could pair him with like another back, you would like if like say like I don't know who's like, but if you could pair him with like another top tier back, you'd have a great roster to start off.
You get him and Eckler down at the swing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, that was the point because I know we weren't when I answered your question that you and Loman were talking about. You look at that and then you see again. I'll say his name. Tyreek Hill is ninth. Like, I'll take Tyreek Hill with the 8th overall pick, and then I will take Austin Eckler in my second round, and I will get, a guy on a team with a quarterback that's going to be on an FU tour since they lost the Super Bowl and the way they lost and, injured last year without Sammy Watkins and those targets. And I'm going to take that guy as my number one overall wide receiver. And then I'm going to get Austin Eckler, who's super physical, versatile, pass catching, can do a lot in an offense that I think is going to be very good with an offensive line where a majority of the guys are returning very good. I would be more confident with that than taking Saquon Barkley in the first round, which is where I think you're going to need to take him, and then taking, a wide receiver or maybe, you I don't know. I would rather have Tyreek Hill and Austin Eckler.
You mentioned the revenge tour. Sometimes those revenge tours don't end very well. I've seen it happen again.
It's true.
My boys were on a revenge tour, and everybody and their mama got hurt. So,
sir,
what's up?
Question in chat. What does it say? Sir, can you, if the 49ers win the Super Bowl, can we get a video on Twitter of you doing the gritty?
If they win the Super Bowl, why not?
Will you do a Super Bowl freestyle? So
Sir has to rap while doing the gritty. I listen. I'm here for it. I cannot.
Will you be our Nate Burleson? That's basically what we're asking.
So
hey, listen. If they win the Super Bowl, you might catch me with you might catch me in the right mood. I'm telling you. See, all right, there might be a couple bottles to the face after that. You know what I'm saying?
We gotta get you one of those vodka pineapple splashes. What you're saying?
It's possible. You a couple of them things.
I think you were doing the gritty when we were playing darts that one night. God damn.
So we covered.
I got one more undervalued.
Okay.
Honestly, this is probably one of my number ones because, you mentioned Kamara. I would pass on him. Barkley, undervalued. Jonathan Taylor. He was the running back 9. I would take him over Kamara. I would take him over a Saquon. Like, the brother's a monster. And like, his O line is top. He's got a great O line. Like, he won me a lot of money last year.
That was your boy.
You know what I'm saying? He put in work. So, you know what I mean? And like, he's only getting better.
So
RB9, 13th overall, I believe it was.
help us out because I'm trying to look for it as much as I can. But they just lost their right tackle, who was like an all-pro
guard, Quentin Nelson.
Okay, so they lost him. So now their offensive line is not as good.
He had the same ailment or injury as Mr. Wentz. He's the same injury, which apparently Wentz, he leaves Philly, he comes to Indy and brings the injury bug with him. So
they're both trending to start week 1.
He also only caught 36 passes, which is not high. Now, I know you will say, well, Derrick Henry doesn't either.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, but Derrick Henry is different than Jonathan Taylor. The only other thing I would say is that it looks like Marlon Mack is back. I'm not saying that Marlon Mack is going to be better than Jonathan Taylor. Don't miss what I'm saying. But there are a lot of mouths in that running back. And you're talking about a team who, at least early on, and we don't know Carson Wentz and how long he's going to be hurt for or anything, but their starting quarterback week 1 is Jacob Eason. So,
AKA 8 in the box.
Yeah,
9 in the box.
Hand the ball to Jonathan Taylor.
But you have Jonathan Taylor, you have Marlon Mack, you have Nyheim Hines, who we know catches passes. They have Jordan Wilkins. I'm going to use that word I've used a few times. I would disagree at undervalued, and I would probably not feel so great drafting him in the second. But that's me.
I thought you were going to fade away. Hey, what? And one last question from chat. Kareem Hunt's ADP. Are you guys fucking with it? And I'm gonna look it up real quick because, to be honest, I don't know what it is. I just know in PPR he is very solid. He's at
Hunt though. Baker Mayfield's pretty low as well. So
he's at 58. Average pick, round 6.5, so 6th or 7th round.
Well, so I think that the worst case scenario, forget the worst case scenario is he gets hurt and doesn't play. I think the worst case scenario is you're looking at a guy who's probably an every week RB2, which you're taking him in, what was it, the 6th or 7th round? That's about where you would get an RB2 if you focused on other positions. But the ceiling is RB1 if Nick Chubb were to ever miss time. So I would say at his current value, I think it's pretty fair. I would be happy with him in the 6th round.
I mean, I'm a huge Kareem Hunt advocate for his on-the-field play.
on the field.
Let's call a spade a spade. Yeah. Wow. He's a good field goal kicker. Dog, we're doing a podcast here. Can you just for a sec go see? Mommy's home. Go see.
So we talked about undervalued. We talked about overvalued. We'll answer any remaining questions in the remaining time that we have if you guys want to fire them in there. I kind of already mentioned, and I know you guys both agreed, but I kind of mentioned my one rule for fantasy drafting, and that's that I would not take quarterback early. Assuming that's not your number one rule and that you guys are just agreeing, do you have a number one rule when drafting for your fantasy drafts?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's hear them.
So, guys in chat, this is where we're going to win you some money. You win your fantasy leagues in the draft and in free agency. It's like 50-50, 75-25, whatever you want. Draft a fucking defense in the second to last round. Draft a kicker in the last round. No other times. That's it. That is where you draft them. No, sir. No.
Honestly, no. With the kicker, though, it depends on where you are picking. Because if you are picking in, if you have the Mr. Relevant pick, I'm not mad about picking a kicker in the second to last round because you get your choice of like who you want. But if you're in like the beginning of the last round, absolutely take a kicker in the last round. But for either the last round or second to last round, take a kicker.
I hear you.
Is what I would say. Like the defensive. I don't know. I could see taking a defense like not like after fourth to last, fifth to last round, but don't take it any earlier than that. Just keep drafting receivers and running backs, and then take a quarterback late.
Yeah, I agree with Tim. I don't usually take. I usually stream defenses based on matchups.
No, I understand, but what I would say is only take one kicker and one defense. You know what I'm saying? I've seen some people take like two defenses. No, just take one on their bye week. You can go find somebody who's playing the Jets or playing the Texans, and you'll have an.
Yeah,
I'm only messing with you, oh boy. All right, but whoever's playing the Texans that week, go take them. You know what I'm saying? Go take whoever's playing some. Go stream a defense, but just pick one. No need to pick 2 and 3 defenses, 2 kickers. No, you don't need all that.
Sir, can I piggyback on your statement about if you're drafting at the end of a round and
go ahead,
you really want a kicker, you take them before you're Mr. Irrelevant. The same goes true if you really like somebody in a draft and you're like, I don't know if he's going to make it back to me. Just fucking take him. Exactly. If you think he's going to be the guy who's going to win you a fantasy league, go and get him because if it's a 12-team league, you got 24 picks before you pick again. He's never going to get that. I mean, there's a difference between overreaching. Don't take somebody who's in round 7 average and take him in round 4. Don't do that. But to the extent, if he's 12 picks away, if that's the guy that you think is going to be a first round value guy and it's the 3rd round, go get him. That's
the one thing I would say, as I said before, which I know you just disagree with, is I say handcuff your running backs. Like if you have a Dalvin Cook or if you have a CMC, go take their backup. You know what I'm saying? But obviously not early, but like one of the later rounds, take one of them before somebody else does. That way you're not scrounging around trying to pick them off free agency when they get if they get hurt. I mean, yes, it's kind of like it might be wasting a spot, but but like last year, I had McCaffrey in a couple leagues. I had Mike Davis sitting on my bench, but then when McCaffrey went down, everybody's like, "Oh, I got to go get Mike Davis." I already had him, so and he didn't do McCaffrey. He didn't do McCaffrey numbers, but he was pretty close.
More than serviceable, boy. More than serviceable.
Exactly, and honestly, Mike Davis might be a good little option for you in Atlanta this year. You know what I'm saying?
Nick, you got anything? Because I got one last tip.
No, I mean, I think what you guys are saying is fair. I think all of those rules are fair.
So the very, very last thing is don't get caught up in positional runs. I see it all the time, especially when it comes to tight ends and quarterbacks. It's like, oh shit, somebody took Patrick Mahomes. Oh, someone took Josh Allen. Someone took Russell Wilson. Dak Prescott. I need my quarterback.
Yeah.
I need my quarterback.
Yeah.
But you're taking him 4 rounds too early because the difference between Dak Prescott and
Aaron Rodgers,
anyone else, it is minuscule as far as points per game that they're going to put up. And same thing with tight ends. Once the first 3 tight ends, you can just punt the position until the rest of your roster is filled. Because the difference between tight end 4 and tight end 12 is the difference between it's a point a game. It turns out to be, or 2 points a game. It's not gonna make or break your week. So just you got to be smart. Draft the positions that are going to put up the most points with the least difference, I guess.
As you say, another thing I would say is know your league settings. Know your league scoring. Like if it's PPR, non-PPR, you get 100-yard bonus. Just know your scoring. That way you can make because like in PPR leagues, some players are better in PPR than the non-PPR. So just know your league settings. And also, if you're doing a live draft, like this is one for online. If you're doing a live draft, keep track of who got taken. Don't be that guy that took somebody that got taken 4 rounds ago. Come on, granted, it happens, but It happens maybe once in a while. You might mess up and, maybe you didn't hear it. But just pay attention, cross the name off, and, don't be like, oh, let me take McCaffrey. It's round 6. Like, bro, he was taking – come on now. Don't be that guy or girl. Hey, listen, women play fantasy too,
I think that you brought up a good point that I didn't even think about, and that's that I think – and I could be wrong for you, sir, but I know Tim is in a lot of leagues where quarterback touchdown passes are 6 points.
4 and 6. Yeah.
The default is 4.
Yeah.
So that kind of further proves the point that we were making earlier. Like, let somebody else take Lamar Jackson. Let somebody else take Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
I get it. Like, they're going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I get it. But, like, you don't need Patrick Mahomes in round 3. You don't need Lamar Jackson in round 4. I promise you, you do not need them in those rounds. Like, what you need is another wide receiver. Or
another running back.
Is another running back. Or Darren Waller. So that you have a competitive edge off of anybody in the league, for the exception of the 2 people in your league that take George Kittle and take Travis Kelce. Then you have a shot. Like, you take Darren Waller in round 3 or 4, and you go up against a guy that has Patrick Mahomes, but he also has Noah Fant. I mean, I don't know. I would rather have, the pass catchers and the running backs and the guys that.
No, absolutely. As I said, if you think you have enough depth, take some more. Just keep building your depth. Like, honestly, I would say take 1 quarterback. Just don't take more. Like, if you want to take 2, also, if you take 2 quarterbacks, look at the bye weeks. Don't be that guy who takes a quarterback and then realize, the bye week say 7, and your backup has a bye week 7. Now you just wasted a pick. So keep an eye on your bye weeks.
I agree with you. This is, from experience. Like, I'm the guy who took Antonio Gibson on every one of my bench spots last year. Like, how did that work out? Like, I won money in fantasy last year because Antonio Gibson was my 3rd best running back on every single team and started every single week in my flex position because I took him, and then I waited on quarterback and took, guys like Matt Ryan, who had, a very good year, for the time that he had his pass catchers, and other guys that were very, very good. Like, I'd rather have the depth and let the other guys worry about Patrick Mahomes.
Absolutely, because as you said, like that Gibson, he's like a lottery ticket. You know what I'm saying? If you grab him late and he blows up, which he did work, then you got yourself a solid player in the later rounds. So always take running backs and receivers, especially the young ones.
To season 2,
we're back.
To a great season. Let's win some money, boys.
And better than ever. Cheers.
Did I hear record?